Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the show that shares with you everything that should be done before saying I do. This is Before I Do, live on the Couples Academy Network. My name is Walter Jennings.
My name is Charmaine Jennings.
And we are here to facilitate courageous conversations on dating and relationships. So whether you're single, dating, engaged, not sure if you want to be married, it is our honor, it is our privilege to join in with you on all of the wondrous adventures in the world of dating.
Yes, and this show is meant to be interactive. So when we pose the speak now or forever hold your peace question, like it's really not a choice. Don't hold your peace. All right. Talk to us. We want to engage with you. And so when that question comes, like be ready. Like let us know how you're feeling, what's happening in your life, and ways that we can support you.
Absolutely. And shout out to Adrian and Laquita. Adrian says, thank you for your content. And Laquita says, good evening. Good evening to both of you all. And thank you all so much for tuning in to Before I Do. Tonight is a very interesting episode. This is involving, the title is I Love You, but Not Your Children. So we're getting into discussing dating as a single parent or dating a single parent. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the issues? And we often hear men say things like, I would not date a woman who has children, but never really taking the time to break down exactly why and what are the issues when it comes to dating someone that already has children. But it is important to take into consideration that dating someone who has children does come with a additional set of factors that you must consider when it comes to potentially getting into a relationship with that individual. Charmaine, what are your thoughts when you think about this whole idea of dating a person who already has children?
So it definitely is an adventure, because the question, becomes is it possible to date someone and not really be dating their children?
Mm-hmm.
The closer you get to this person, the more you unpack, how great they are, there's always going to come a point to where you are building and cultivating a relationship with them, but you also will eventually have to cultivate a relationship with their children. So is it a reality that you can ever date a person who has children and not eventually find yourself having to enter into a relationship with the children? And so, yeah, I think, this topic is huge, and it's definitely one that comes with a lot of layers. A lot of layers.
Absolutely. And so some of those things that you'll need to consider when you think about dating someone who has children are the time and scheduling issues. If your partner is co-parenting, there are going to be days and times when they are going to have their children with them, and then there are going to be days and times when that child is with their other parent. But before you get excited, you have to think about the fact that in addition to balancing parenthood, this person also needs to have some time for themselves. They also may have a friend support system. So you want to make sure that you are supporting them with their time management and their flexibility. Now, single parenthood oftentimes is a exercise in being able to juggle all of those things. And so it can be challenging for a lot of people. And so you may often find yourself getting involved with someone who hasn't necessarily found a good balance for all of those things. So it's not that they don't like you or don't want to spend time with you. It's just difficult for them to really find their footing when it comes to balancing their time and their availability.
Mm-hmm. And then, some other challenges that can come when you're dating someone with children. And mind you, it these may be younger children, older children. A lot of these things, these challenges can exist. But when we're looking at it, your partner as a date versus your partner as a parent. So now you're engaging with them wearing two separate hats, right? So it's possible that a person that you're getting to know as a potential partner, they could show up drastically different with their children. So maybe they're super nice. Maybe they're they're very giving to their children, and maybe when it comes to discipline and structure, maybe they provide that, maybe they don't. Maybe they're generous with their wallet, maybe they're not. So it's important to acknowledge the dichotomy and be honest about how this potentially impacts your relationship, because man, you could have two very different parenting value systems that can cause challenges, or it could complement the other.
Absolutely. And then the next one is conflicting parenting values and styles. So differences in parenting styles, they may increase conflict in your relationship when you have an idea of how you think that person should be parenting and you don't necessarily agree with their methods. And so we have to be careful of not imposing our belief of how we think the person should be parenting on that particular on our partner just because they are our partner. And so parenting can be difficult and time consuming even when parents agree. But when they don't, the parenting approach can be a source of near constant bickering and arguing. So it's important to factor that into the idea of parenting values and styles and that impacting the relationship.
Absolutely. And then we have threats of the ex. And so it's possible that your partner will likely be in touch with their ex. Obviously, they're going to need to communicate with them because there's a, a co-parenting situation. So yes, your partner will have to talk to the ex. They will have to interact and things like that. So they will have to coordinate the children's lives, especially if they're underage children, right? And so it's going to be important for you to be secure and how you handle that, and always to trust your partner and be accommodating. It may require you to be a little bit more accommodating to the ex, being in a, having an active role in the person that you're dating's life. But, I really, Walter, wanted to really, to add to this, things to consider is, what if the children are not team like you? Like, you're not my
Mm-hmm.
daddy, so I'm not gonna like you because you're not my daddy. Or you're
Mm-hmm.
not my mom, so like I'm not gonna like you just because you're not my mom. And so I'm gonna give you my behind the kiss.
Mm-hmm.
How would you engage with that situation?
Well, first and foremost, you have to understand that not everyone is going to like you, and especially not the child. And really getting to not necessarily trying to make them like you, but making sure that there's a measure of respect, and that comes through understanding. So getting to know the child, really understanding again who they are, because even their bias against you may not even necessarily be personal, but just based on what you represent. Obviously,
Mhm.
you're not the biological parent, and that child may prefer their parent to be with the other parent, and so you represent the division between that. And so just recognizing that dynamic and doing what you can to really get to know and understand the child. But as we get into the tips and the strategies for really being able to navigate some of these challenges, we're going to talk about how some of the things that you'll need to consider as you're dating someone that does have a child. But when you are interacting with the child, it's very important to, again, get to know them, but not push into trying to be their best friend, trying to get them to like you, buying them different things, going against your partner and siding with the child because you want them to like you. That's not going to bode well, not just with your partner, but also even as a respect principle with that particular child.
Mm. Yeah, very good. And so, yes, that's the question that this topic brings to me is, man, would I date someone that my children, they absolutely don't like and they can't stand, right? Or,
Mm-hmm.
how do I have the stamina to date someone who their children hates me and doesn't like me, right? And so that's a huge question to think about. Would you continue a relationship where there's just, I mean, this toxicity where your person you're dating, their children can't stand you, don't like you, or your children can't stand the person that you're dating? And I think
Yeah,
these
and as you
dilemmas happen
mentioned,
regularly.
Yeah, and as you mentioned at the beginning, Charmaine, it's impossible to date someone who has children and not be somehow impacted by the child, not be impacted, and you not be impacted by that. So it's important to meet that head on. And so part of that, if you are the partner that actually has the child, to make sure that you're facilitating conversations, right? That the child understands that there needs to be a level of respect for this individual that I'm in a relationship with. There has to be understanding with my partner so that they know that this is my child, that obviously they take precedence and priority. And there's a certain way that I discipline and handle them. And but also too, making sure that both parties know that the lines of communication are open directly to you as the parent or as the partner, and making sure that they can come to you with any challenges or issues that they might have. But for all intents and purposes, you are serving as a mediator and a liaison between the two, because again, you're fostering this relationship with this new partner while also continuing to strengthen the relationship with your child. So again, don't run from that, embrace it and really lean into it.
Yeah, and not giving a false sense of you have a vote in who I date, because I do know that there are some situations where, we've supported some individuals where literally, especially the adult children, sometimes adult children believe I have a vote. And so if I don't like you, then, they feel like their parents should really take their advice and adjust. And if I don't like your partner or spouse or whatever, then, you shouldn't date the person. And there's been some challenging relationships between parent and adult children dynamics when the parent doesn't listen to the child or vice versa. So yeah, just being mindful of what the boundary is and how to establish that, those conversations and interactions.
You're tuned into Before I Do. Tonight's topic, I love you, but not your children. We're going to get into our Speak Now question of the night, which is, have you ever dated someone with children? What was your experience? And Laquita, I know that you put your comment in the comment section already, and we are going to jump right into that after we take this really quick commercial break. But if you have dated someone with children, tell us about your experience. And on the other side of this break, we are going to cover it, and we'll be back with more Before I Do. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back to Before I Do. Tonight's topic is I love you, but not your children. Before we went to the break, we released our Speak Now question of the night, which is, have you ever dated someone with children? What was your experience? And we have already got some comments that are going down. And so we want to share a couple of those with you. First of all, Nina says it's hard. And so, Nina, if you would, we want you to elaborate on that. What is hard about dating someone either with children or you having children and dating someone? Laquita says this right here. Dating someone with children has its pros and its cons. And then she makes a really great observation. She says, observing and getting to know the child at a distance helps me determine if I even want to date the father. So she's actually, Laquita's looking at the child to see if she even wants to get to know the father. And so to me, that really testifies to looking at how a person is potentially interacting and rearing their children as a manner of if you want to even consider a father and getting to know them. So really interesting. But when we talk about, again, dating someone with children, Charmaine, I know you had a really, really brief dating history, and I did as well before we started dating. But did you ever in high school date someone with children?
Not that I know, not that I knew of. There was this, there, and I know that sounds so scandalous. Okay, but there was this one guy that I was kind of dating and talking to, and he was kind of secretive, which is why it wasn't gonna work. But he might have had children, but yeah, there was no direct. Um, I never really dated someone with children, maybe older siblings, so they felt responsible for their younger siblings and they had huge responsibilities. So definitely, I've had that situation, but it's tough. It's tough when you are trying to cultivate a relationship with a person and at the same time support the people that they love, to try to cultivate ongoing the relationships with the people that are close to them. So it's tough, but yeah, I haven't really had that experience with dating someone with children, but just being an educator and really helping to navigate those parental custodial situations, it's been a work. It's been a work on, supporting both parents, giving it a great work.
Yeah, I actually did get the chance to date someone that had children, and it was difficult. As far as it takes a measure of maturity to date someone that has children. First and foremost, again, because their time is divided. And so, again, as we get into some of these tips, one of the things that's important is remembering that you're not necessarily going to be that person's top priority. They have children, and of course, children, because they're young and often part of our more vulnerable population, you have to make sure that you make every effort to protect them and their safety. And so their needs always come first, and that is not always an easy thing to accept when you are dating and getting to know someone. And then when you talk about getting involved as the person that is dating someone with children, getting involved with the children and potentially building a relationship with them that is somehow separate from your relationship with that partner can be a really dangerous thing, where you form a bond with the child, and now if things don't work out with you and your partner, now it's not only are you separating, going through the pain of separating from that person, but also the pain of separating from the child as well. And so again, as we get into some of these tips, we will really begin to hone into, for, as we mentioned, a lot of men, when they say, I won't date a women with children. And, because it does come with a lot of different challenges, but a lot of them are some loose ends, a lot of things that come along with someone that has children that make you very vulnerable. When it comes to that. Laquita has another comment. She says, the baby mama wanted to beat me down because I'm dating her child's father, and it can be a lot. Thank God the children were awesome, though, and I had a good relationship with the children. And also, it was the baby mama for me that made it hard. Absolutely. So that partner, again, as long as the child is in that your partner's life, you're always in some way, shape, or form going to be connected to that other person as well. So again, there are all these ties, right, that are going to ultimately impact your relationship when you date someone with children. And so being able to make sure that you bear those things in mind. So getting into some of these tips, we're going to share with you all 4 tips that you'll want to consider when you get ready to date someone with children. Number 1, you want to have patience with the children. And this is something that we actually just talked about before we went to the break. You don't want to put pressure on yourself or even the children with any unrealistic expectations. Things may not go smooth at first, and the children may actually purpose not to like you, again, because of the express purpose that you represent a division between their biological mother and father. And so you want to make sure that you genuinely take the time to get to know them and discover who they are. What do they like to do? What are the things that are interesting them? You also want to take tips from the person that you're dating, as far as with going through them and understanding and making sure that you're taking an interest on certain things that impact them. If they have health issues, how they're doing with their health issues, how they're doing in school, what activities are they involved in. Now, you do want to be careful that you, again, aren't trying to buy their affection and their attention. That means that you're trying to do things to really circumvent the relationship you have with the partner in order to connect and bond with the child. You want it to be organic, you want it to be authentic, and you want it to be something that is actually done in the proper way through the relationship with your partner. Charmaine, you're muted right now. Uh-oh, I got you. Go ahead. Charmaine, you're muted right now. There you go.
All
We got
right.
you. Mhm.
Okay. I don't know why that happened, but okay. The second tip is to remain flexible and understanding. And so, when dating, you might want your partner to shower you with love, devotion, and you may want a lot of their attention. But this may be a bit difficult in this case, as your partner's love and attention will often be divided between you and the children. So you have to be understanding enough to accept that you're not always going to be the center of attention. Now, of course, when you guys are dating and together, you can have standards. We're not saying love with children, and so when children are involved, you can't predict how your plans may change, especially the younger the children are, right? So there may be times when the partner will have to choose between you and their children, and really you probably should expect them to choose the children, because at least that tells you that their priorities are in full alignment with their value system, right? And to try to mitigate these things, devise a backup plan, and plan your dates well in advance so that they can ensure that their children will be taken care of. They can get childcare. Impromptu dates or surprise weekend getaways may not always be as feasible. So if you need adventure, spontaneity at this phase of life, yeah, maybe a challenge, especially if the children are young and not, of age. So just try to be empathetic. As managing children and a personal life is not easy. So in these situations, just be more understanding with your partner. Try to work with your partner, especially when things come up that are beyond their control.
Absolutely. And number 3 is a really important one. Is when we talk about disagreeing with our partner's parenting style. And this is a really challenging one in relationships, because when we see the results of the parenting style in the child, it may create challenges within your dynamic with your partner. But you want to seek clarity rather than criticism on your partner's parenting style. Now, differences of opinion regarding how children should be reared can lead to serious fractures and divisions in a relationship if they aren't handled properly. And if you have issues with how your partner is parenting their child, it may be helpful for you to get a better understanding of what is informing their choices. In other words, you want to allow questions to lead out your as far as the questioning styles, rather than criticism, because the questions will allow you to gain understanding. And so you want to attempt to have your partner reflect on how their childhood experiences and some of the things that what is actually informing the way that they are thinking, and where did their parenting philosophy come from. And you also want to reciprocate that as well. In other words, if you would do some things different, sharing what things you would do differently and why. So then it becomes not, I'm telling you how to rear your children. We're actually having a constructive conversation about the differing ways that we view parenting. And so you really want to make sure that you don't want to come across in a way that is accusatory, especially if you do not have children of your own, because it is easy to feel like you have a better method of rearing children. But until you have your own children, it is very, very difficult to criticize someone else's parenting style, because I'm telling you, children are all unique and different, and one methodology may work for one, it doesn't necessarily work for the other. So again, you have to be very careful. And this dialogue that you have with your partner, right? It allows you both to open up and potentially be exposed to some different potential strategies and techniques. Maybe your partner takes it, maybe they don't, but at least it also provides you with a broader perspective on why they are doing what they're doing. But it's very important that you seek clarity rather than criticism when you are addressing your partner's parenting philosophy.
And tip number 4, like this one, I'm dating you. I'm not dating your children. I'm dating you, and so people love to have that. They want to compartmentalize the process. But tip number 4 tells us to accept that your partner's past is a part of your future. Anything that is showing up in the present, it is a reality, right? And children, they are a part of the future. You don't just parent them and then one day, you cut them off. They are an ongoing part of your partner's life. So your partner's previous relationships may or may not have ended amicably. Okay, and we know we have some comments out there, right? But there's no denying that when children are involved, their ex will be involved in their life too. This will be more frequent if they are co-parenting with the children. And you need to understand that, co-parenting responsibilities and arrangements, they are layered and sometimes can be very complex. And from coordinating parenting duties to complaints about the ex, you sometimes may have to listen and to the venting and all of the things that go along with the stress of having to engage with the ex. The ex may have had their children. Maybe the ex is an integral part of the life, meaning the ex has the vehicle and the ex picks the children up, and maybe they're not the custodial parent, but they have to really do things on the terms that the ex set, right? Because they're the custodial parent. And so there can be a lot of different layers. So you just want to listen and try not to, you don't want to add fuel to the fire. By complaining, by egging on the ex, so you want to watch what you say, watch how you move. And sometimes the children can be a little disgruntled too, because if they feel like, oh, well, my daddy bought you this or bought you that, sometimes there's resentment there, because the children may feel like, well, you're taking food out of my mouth, you're taking resources out of my mouth. Him having you as a date, or my mother dating this guy is taking resources out of my mouth and out of my hand. And so there's so many different layers. But just like you don't want to ever make your partner choose between you and their children, you also don't want to put them in the middle. Nobody wants to be the middleman, right? Between their child and between you and the children and their ex. So it may be tempting to give them advice on how to handle their ex, but it's best to keep it to yourself until your ex asks for your advice. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you want to be asked for advice about how to engage with the situation with the ex. But if they're involving you in this regularly, then definitely, you have a voice in that. So be present for them in every way that you can.
Absolutely. So thank you all again. This has been a really, really interesting topic. And I see you, Nina and Laquita. Y'all have y'all own little conversation and show going on in the chat. And absolutely, there's a lot of different challenges that come along with dating someone with children, but it is something that can be mitigated. And we want to give a special shout out to one of our special friends who actually, she is a mother of 5 and just got married this past weekend. And we always share with her, she always had a heart to be married and was concerned if she would actually be able to find a husband because of all of the children that she had. And I always share with her that no, you will always be attracted to men because of the way that you're able to compartmentalize and the way that you honor men. And sure enough, she actually celebrated her wedding this past weekend. So really excited for her. And so for those of you, again, who are single parents as well, same thing can be done for you. So just being able to make sure that you are focused on cultivating your relationship with your partner, while also, again, making sure that you are prioritizing your child as well, and making sure that you are with someone who is going to make your child a priority and understands that also. So, hey, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Before I Do. As you all see, my beautiful bride is out of the area. And so thank you all for being patient with us and the technical difficulties. But we will be back together next Wednesday for another Before I Do. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe at couplesacademy.org. And until next week, we'll see you all next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.